I noticed the Bitcoin price was the same, but the USD price doubled. So me coming from the hood, I'm like, this is a flip. This is a flip right here. I don't know what this is, but I could buy it 1 month and sell it for twice the price the next month. No matter where you are in life, Bitcoin can meet you there. Bitcoin is everything that you don't understand about money combined with everything you don't understand about technology.
Right. Yeah.
So it's very daunting, right? It's daunting. The way it happens is so beautiful. If you've never sent a transaction on Bitcoin, I implore you to go and just try and experience it, because it also changes you in the fact that you feel like you realize that you just did that without a bank, without permission, where you're begging for somebody for an account. Get off zero. If you're on zero, if you're listening to this, if you're undecided, get off zero, buy Bitcoin.
Today on The Signal, I'm joined by Caliph Harold, host of the Real Hard Money podcast. He's a father, a Bitcoiner, and a voice reminding us why there is no second best. Caliph, welcome to the show. It's an honor to have you here today.
Thanks so much for having me on, man. Always good vibrations when I'm on with Dr. Satoshi.
Yeah, it was really cool being on your show and super excited to have you on The Signal. So let's jump right into it. What first drew you to Bitcoin, and what made you realize that there is no second best?
Aha! What first drew me to Bitcoin? Great question. And speaking of, my son was with me when I first really touched Bitcoin. And it's a funny story. I was actually a computer programmer, so I knew about Bitcoin, but I didn't really believe it. I didn't understand it. I didn't know what was going on. I thought it was just some internet money that us nerds over there were doing in that corner of the internet, right? I didn't pay much mind to it until about 2017 early. I had to make a purchase, and I wanted to buy the UFC fight, maybe Conor McGregor or something like that, right? Back in those days. And sorry, it was a pirated software. It was a pirated access to the thing, and they only accepted Bitcoin. So I was like, it's cool. Okay, cool. Chris, my son, I called him, check it out. We got to buy some Bitcoin. Come check this out. This is like the new tech stuff. I'm a tech dad, so I got excited to show him. I still didn't think anything of it. I didn't know what it was, but I bought it, and then it was great. And then the next month, it expired, and I had to buy it again. And I noticed the Bitcoin price was the same, but the USD price doubled. So me coming from the hood, I'm like, this is a flip. This is a flip right here. I don't know what this is, but I could buy it 1 month and sell it for twice the price the next month. So I started looking into it for the greed I think Wall Street will do and is doing. You start to look in it for the commonality of the greed. That's it's not a bad thing, but I it really started the juices flowing on it, and I started thinking about what is this thing, and then I ran upon Andreas Antonopoulos, and he's talking so erudite about it. He's not even talking about the price. He's talking about why it's good for humanity and why it's an evolutionary step and what all the great things are. I'm like, what? It's far more than I thought it would be, right? He's talking about it in grandiose terms, and how he himself, when he discovered it, he like didn't eat for 4 months and couldn't do anything else but think about Bitcoin and look into it and investigate it. And I went down the rabbit hole in that, and I was in the same predicament as Andreas Antonopoulos. I just became obsessed with it, and yeah, it let me down here. So I immediately took a loan out, and I bought as much Bitcoin as I could. And thank God, because it set me on a journey. I changed my profession from a programmer to a marketer, and that allowed me to have freedom of movement. geographical movement. And I could work in places like this, like now in Thailand, and still have contact with America. Is where you are, right? You're still in America,
Yeah,
right? The state.
yeah, I'm in California. But yeah,
Cali.
yeah, your
Okay.
story is really cool because it shows how, based on just using it in the real world, you were able to see how its purchasing power increases over time. Just month to month, saw
Mhm.
how the purchasing power doubled. And that's similar to how people describe it with houses, how 5 years
Right.
ago, a house cost 1,000 Bitcoin, and then each year it gets cheaper in terms of Bitcoin terms. Now you can buy a house for 5 Bitcoin. In 5 years, you'll be able to buy a house for 1 Bitcoin and then eventually zero point 0.1 Bitcoin. So it's pretty cool how you saw it firsthand just by happenstance, by needing to use it to buy
Yeah.
the Conor McGregor fight. You also shifted out of that coming for the gains and staying for
Hmm.
the revolution. You were able to
Yeah.
see the revolutionary aspects of it. But I'm worried that a lot of people are going to come for the gains and not see those revolutionary aspects. So, what was it that allowed you to see those revolutionary aspects to Bitcoin?
If you were you here in 2017 with
I
Bitcoin?
actually, yeah, that was my first introduction to Bitcoin when it was that crazy hype cycle at the end of 2017, and everyone was talking about it.
Okay.
And that's when I bought in,
Okay.
and I had no idea what it was. I just completely bought into the hype, and I've seen how crazy that hype can get and how it causes people
Hmm.
to just exuberantly just buy it without understanding it. And that's a very powerful force that I think a lot of people that are new to Bitcoin or over the last several years have never really experienced that exuberance.
So that's it. That's it right
Yeah.
there. I was swept away, completely
Yeah.
swept away by the exuberance. I came for Bitcoin, but I got swept away into the whole crypto casino. And I've made so many mistakes. I've lost so much Bitcoin. I made every mistake. And it's just part of the reason why I became a Bitcoin educator and I had my podcast. Even before my podcast, I had a channel on YouTube that I started December 2017.
Mm.
And YouTube canceled my channel last year, and it was deflationary. It deflated me. Like it took a lot out of my sales. But I was like, you know what? They can't stop me. They can't stop Bitcoiners. And the other thing is the people, the Bitcoiners that I admired and respected their podcast and such, they all had stories about being canceled or deplatformed or demonetized for the second and third and fourth and fifth time. So who am I to like give up when I just had one cancellation and on my little channel when they've been through it and they kept going. And so that gives me the fire to keep going and talk about all those things that I went through and that swept up into the crypto casino of it all. Not the way you want to go, folks. It's not the way you want to go. You want to stay Bitcoin only for sure.
Yeah, I think you've got a lot of valuable lessons, and I think it'd be great for you to share some of those lessons. So, what do you think would be good for a lot of people who are newer to Bitcoin that haven't experienced what you've experienced to learn from?
All right. So, number one, Bitcoin only. First, one big misconception about Bitcoin is that you have to buy a whole Bitcoin, right? Wrong. You can buy fractions of a Bitcoin. You can buy $5 worth of Bitcoin right now on Strike. Not a plug. I'm not affiliated, but I love the app. I love what Jack does. He's a true Bitcoiner. But you can buy $5 of Bitcoin right now. Don't go to Coinbase. That would be my advice. Do not use Swan, Strike, River. These three apps because they're what? Bitcoin only. Okay, so you'll start the game with a focus. You won't run in, you need to know the fundamentals, right? If I'm teaching you a martial art, I teach you the correct stance, I teach you the punches, I teach you the basics. Or if I'm teaching you basketball, I teach you how the triangle when you need to shoot your proper form, your basic structure, how to pass, how to shoot. I'm not going to put you in there against Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal on your first day because you're not ready for all that. You don't even understand the game. You don't even understand why you're here. You don't understand anything about Bitcoin. And the thing is, with Bitcoin, you need to understand it. You're never going to reach the place Dr. Satoshi is in mentally and have an actual spiritual connection with money, which sounds absurd, but this is what we're talking about. Your US dollar will never make you understand life differently, besides the fact that besides beyond greed and consuming and excess, right? Or the opposite, lack of and wanting and always needing and feeling not worthy or something like that, right? So there's the opposite of that. And you don't even start thinking about things like that unless you understand Bitcoin and get to know why Bitcoin was created. So that would be number two, is to buy from an exchange that's only Bitcoin, because you need to focus, right? And you're not going to understand it right away. That's number three. You're going to have to spend time with it. So my advice would be to whatever you can. So the first thing was get off zero, right? Buy the Bitcoin. Buy the Bitcoin at a big crypto only, Bitcoin only exchange, and DCA, dollar cost average. So even if it's $5 a week, $50 a week, or $500 a week, no matter where you are in life, Bitcoin can meet you there. And dollar cost average weekly. I advise all my clients and people who I recommend purchase weekly, not monthly, because the market can change too drastically monthly. But if that's all you can do, then do it. But if you're getting money monthly, you probably could break that sum up into a weekly purchase. Daily, I think the returns, or the difference between a weekly and a daily purchases are insignificant. So I suggest weekly. That's less of a headache. Just set it and forget it. And even if it's that small, $5 per week, what will happen is you'll start to watch it more. You start to watch it, and then you'll start to understand what this is, because you might see it go down, swing down heavily, and oh, this is a scam, it's dead. And then it comes back, and then you go, and then it dies, and you say, oh, see, I knew it. And then it comes back, and you say, and it dies 1,000 times in the media and your friends and family. But then you look up a few years later, and usually 4 years later, and your money's tripled, quadrupled, or even just stayed the same, or even just held on to your purchasing power in a way that you don't do in fiat at all, and far greater than you would do in gold, right? And so that's the first things, and that would give you time to study, and that's be number four. So the first thing is get off zero. You don't have to buy whole Bitcoin. Number two, always buy from a Bitcoin only place so you can stay focused. Number three is dollar cost average weekly, because it's going to take time for you to understand this and what it is. Set it and forget it, and you'll be able to pay attention to it. And number four is study, because there's a lot to Bitcoin and there's a lot to learn before you get the aha moment and get to a place where Dr. Satoshi is, kids.
Yeah, those are some excellent basics for sure. So thank you for sharing that. But could you dig in a little bit in terms of why people should hone in on Bitcoin, and what is it about Bitcoin that makes it special compared to other crypto and to fiat? What is it about Bitcoin in particular that should give people the motivation to only focus on Bitcoin?
Bitcoin is the whole reason the crypto industry exists, right? And it was created for a reason. Why is that reason? That's the first why. Why is that reason? And then you read the white paper, and then you get a ground up understanding of what's going on. You're not going to understand the white paper at first. That's the thing. It's not a long document. It's a few pages. It's technical, but Bitcoin is everything that you don't understand about money combined with everything you don't understand about technology.
Right. Yeah.
So it's very daunting, right? It's daunting. So what was your original question? Why is it
Why
that we
should
need to
people,
study it?
yeah, what motivation should people have to just focus on Bitcoin? Because I definitely agree 100%, but I think a lot of people are just confused. They don't know why should they hone in on Bitcoin. They hear in the headlines about other stuff, and then we tell them to hone in on Bitcoin. But I feel like people need to have motivation. Otherwise, we're just another group of people trying to hype something. It's hard for people to. How do they distinguish us telling them about Bitcoin versus, for instance, like Ripple people trying to hype Ripple? If they don't know, it's hard for them to know why we're saying what we're saying about just focusing on Bitcoin.
Right. Yes. Bitcoin is here to actually do something. Bitcoin is here to actually change the world. These other things came along and of riding the coattail, and we call it orange washing. They want to have the halo effect of being around the angel that came to earth. And it actually has a purpose, and its killer application is what it was created for. It was to be perfect money. Now, all these other things come up. Oh, it's faster, cheaper. It's a better Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to be MySpace, and this new thing is going to be Facebook. Or Bitcoin's going to be Blockbuster, and this new thing's going to be Netflix. But they don't understand that this is the new money protocol. And protocols, if you know anything about the internet, I grew up with the internet, like side by side, that protocols persist. SMTP, which is the protocol for email, simple messaging transfer protocol or something like that. That's the protocol we use to this day, and it was created in the 70s. And same thing with HTTP that you type in on the internet, hypertext transfer protocol, since the 70s. And before that, ARPA and the military, it advanced from in the late 60s. But these things don't change. And once you have the protocol, it's locked in. And if this is the new protocol for money, you want to be a part of that. And you want to understand that. But the thing is, you don't really need to understand the HTTP. It just works. And there will be, maybe my son's son will grow up in the world where he doesn't really understand Bitcoin. It just works, but he just grew up with it. The same way kids now, they've grown up with the internet. But I can remember when it was no internet. It wasn't there. I remember when there were no cell phones. Hello, I'm aging myself. I remember we had beepers. Hello. I remember you had to, there was always a chance when you're talking to your little girlfriend on the phone that your mom would pick up on the other end downstairs. So I'm old enough to remember that. But the Bitcoin is a new money protocol. So you need to understand this protocol, because it's your money. It's about your life. It's how we interact. It's how we exchange. It's how we show what's valuable to each other. How much is this microphone worth, right? How much is this shirt worth? How much is these things behind me worth? How much are they worth? Each of these little individual. Can you give me 4 cows for this necklace or chicken? And we don't want exchange like that. I think it's important to focus on Bitcoin because it's here to do things that these other things are not here to do. They are applications that are using a cryptography. So they're being called crypto, but most of them could just have been traditional applications. Why do you need a token? They're gambling. Basically it's gambling when Bitcoin is actually here to be the new financial infrastructure. It's a serious thing against unserious things, if I had to boil it down. It's something that I would recommend to my family and friends, my grandmother, with full chest, wholeheartedly, and know in my soul that I'm giving a good thing to the world. You can't do that with Ethereum. You can't do that with anything else, XRP. That's like a gamble. That's like a stock. Now, you might think it has a place. Maybe Ethereum does have a place in this world, but I don't talk about Ethereum in the same breath or light that I talk about Bitcoin in. It's a different thing. And that's my problem. It gets conflated. Crypto, right? That's one of my pet peeves as a maxi. We all say Bitcoin, not crypto.
Yeah.
Like you said, I hate when people conflate Bitcoin with crypto because they're not the same thing. They're not the same thing.
Yeah. And can you explain to people who are curious about Bitcoin and want to understand more about it, why do they only hear negative things about it in the media? What's the reason behind that? If because a regular person who doesn't understand it but wants to, they might ask the very reasonable question: if Bitcoin is so great, as you guys are talking about, then why do I only keep hearing negative things about it in the media?
Part of that is because a lot of that attention are focused on the scam coins, but they don't know. They hear crypto and they say, "Oh, Bitcoin," because Bitcoin is the avatar for crypto. Bitcoin is crypto for all that they are known as far as they're concerned. This crypto scam or FTX happens or whatever else FUD happens, or back in the day Mount Docs, Gox, or this exchange has been robbed. It puts crypto in a bad light, but they don't dig deep enough beyond the headline or the FUD to say Bitcoin wasn't hacked. The bank was. But Bitcoin wasn't a bad custodian of your wealth and time. That exchange was. That exchange was the scam. And actually, they were selling more scammy tokens and things like that. And you get caught up in the scams and the NFTs and the bonk coins and the fart boys. And I like, it's not a serious thing. Come on. Bitcoin is on the stock exchange now, the ETFs for a reason. Bitcoin is being talked about as a treasury for companies, and Michael Saylor adapting all these companies like Metaplanet and other companies adding it as a treasury for a reason. Countries talking about having a Bitcoin strategic reserve for a reason. I'm sorry, they're not going to have a Doge reserve. They're not going to have a Bonk reserve. I'm sorry. They're not going to have Dog with Hat reserve, Moon Boys.
So why is it that a lot of Bitcoiners end up getting their YouTube channels canceled? And why is it that your YouTube channel ended up getting canceled?
That's one thing about being deplatformed, honestly. They don't have to tell you, and they don't. So I petitioned, I appealed. No, don't cancel my channel. I worked so hard, 7 years, blah, blah, blah. We don't care. Next. You violated the terms. What terms? You just did. Beat it. So that's why I love Nostr. I love Nostr. You can't be canceled. If you look into Nostr, it's the new form of social media. It can have a presentation. It's open source. It can be presented however you want to, like an Instagram, a Facebook, a Twitter, and they can't ban you. And you can move from different presentations to different presentations and take your audience with you. They can't take away your followers. They can't take away your livelihood. Look into Nostr. I think it's going to grow. I think it's going to grow quite much. Coin did. So I listened to Jeff Booth and I tried to move out of the fiat world. And I believe these platforms like X, Facebook, and so on are like the fiat world, right? And the old world of thinking in a centralized, very centralized, they control the data. If it's a free application and you don't know what the product is, you usually are the product. You are the product. Your data is the product. And Nostr is the way out of that. So I take Jeff Booth's advice and move more into this other world, this other freer world. Yeah, so they don't have to, as far as like, why do they keep, I can't even say it's my inflammatory thoughts. We reveal the truth about the government and the truth about what they're doing to our fiat. It could be that I made a lot of anti-government statements, but at the end of the day, I don't know. And at the end of the day, they don't have to tell me because it's their show. They run the show.
So do you
So
think that the fiat world and these centralized institutions recognize how powerful Bitcoin is? and they're terrified, and that's why they do stuff like canceling voices like yours and other Bitcoiners?
Yeah, but to for little Bitcoiners channels like mine, they are not concerned, maybe on a whole, but the message is getting out and nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. I think on a bigger level, the BlackRock level, they know where the winds are blowing, which way the winds are blowing. Larry Fink, the largest assets under management in the world, he's now shilling for Bitcoin when just a couple years ago he was totally against it. I remember I have had videos on my older channel showing how he was basically saying there's no demand for it. Nobody's asking for it, this and that. And as at that time, I was like, this is a total play. They are saying one thing and doing another. I guarantee it. And then a couple of years later, with the help of Larry Fink, they push the ETF through the SEC, the spot ETF. So you remember that now I do think they want to slow the train down, because if you remember 2017 time, they approved the futures market for Bitcoin before the spot, way before. Why? Because that way we can control the collapse. We can put all of these pressure points, max pain points, bonk people out of their position, get them over levered, collapse it. And then, yeah, they controlled demolition, the bubble down into that bear market that we had. That's why they approved the futures on Bitcoin and not the spot. Usually it's the other way around. But they knew what they were doing, because they knew this was about getting out of control. And now I believe they know where it's going. Look at Trump's presidency. He is a grifter. Sorry, MAGA. Trump's a grifter. His seat was barely warm in the Oval Office at the Resolute desk when he offered his Trump meme coin to the world. The man is one big nonstop grift that keeps on grifting. But just like the rest of the crypto casino, the crypto gulag, they're attaching their star on their rope to Bitcoin star, right? And a big part of why Big Trump steamrolled is he ran on Bitcoin. That was one of his tents. That was one of his tent poles, I should say. One of the poles in his tent that he ran under. And there was a lot of lobbying in DC for Bitcoin. And a lot of Bitcoiners have a lot of money now. So there's a lot of wealth backing Bitcoin, and people like Fitzgerald, Cantor Fitzgerald, Harold Lutnick, these billionaires, they're all in on Bitcoin. They know what's going on, and they're talking to Trump. And Trump's sons, Eric, who I think actually understands Bitcoin, Eric Trump, I think he actually understands Bitcoin and he gets it in a real way. He's telling his father that this is the way. But meanwhile, we can still make $5 billion off of this meme coin and this world liberty, financial, whatever, fake Ethereum type of thing they're doing. They're selling NFTs, and it's one big grift. No president has made so much money while being in office, and we don't even have a whole year under his belt for this term. So I think that's significant. I think that's pretty outstanding. But yeah, it's just, you just have to focus on Bitcoin.
So do you think that now that institutions like BlackRock and the government are on board, that's because for me that was huge. Knowing that BlackRock's on board changed everything. It took away a huge concern that I had that potentially Bitcoin could still get shut down. But now that BlackRock's on board, it feels like it's unstoppable now. And yeah, it was inevitable that, because I know a lot of people are against corporations or institutions like BlackRock or the government being on board, but it's inevitable when you have such hard, pure money that everyone's going to catch on at some point. But I feel like you mentioned, now that BlackRock's on board, now that the government is supposedly on board, that takes away a huge risk, and there's almost no downside to Bitcoin at that point. Do you agree?
I totally agree. I think there's less risk in Bitcoin now than there ever were, than it ever was. If they were going to kill it, they should have or could have killed it in its crib, in its infancy. Now it's a 15, it's a stout and sturdy, strapping young teenager. You're not going to kill this thing. How can you kill it? If Bitcoin can only kill itself, I think it's really reached escape velocity. And I say that because of a few things. They can't control it. If they could control it, they would have killed it already.
What about
The US government works.
what about the levers that you were talking about with the futures market, how they were able to do that coordinated collapse? Are they going to still be able to do stuff like that in the future? Or are they running out of tools?
Because of its maturity, it's maturing. When that was happening, it was about $1 trillion, and they collapsed it down. But at 2 trillion, it's still a drop in the bucket for global finance and global wealth. People talk about the addressable market between anything from 400 trillion to 800 trillion. And those are talking big, insane, goofy numbers, right? But that's just to show that Bitcoin is still 0.2 or something like that of the addressable market. It's small, but I do think that people will come for the greed and not know that they have swallowed the Trojan pill into the system, like a BlackRock. I'm not sure that Larry Fink truly knows what Bitcoin is here for and here to do. He speaks like he has some kind of understanding. He says when a government is in turmoil and you might not agree with maybe a dictator there, or you have to flee. And I'm like, okay, Larry, all right, maybe you maybe you know something. It's really odd though to hear someone of his stature say these things out loud, straight up telling the people that government can be detrimental to you with your money. So you need a safe house like Bitcoin. And then he compares it to gold, but for the new digital age. And I'm like, okay, Larry. And then I'm like, but Ray on the corner at the barber shop is doubting this. But like one of the richest men, most well-connected men, basically the runner of the global financial system, says Bitcoin is good, but you're still doubting this? You're still like, I don't know, man. I don't know. But that's just one indicator. That's one bellwether harbinger, right? I've never seen so many tailwinds for Bitcoin in my life. All of the things that we just spoke about with the adoption and the companies buying it, right? But also things like the Lightning Network, making it easier, faster. I pay for my food here with the Lightning Network, and the way it happens is so beautiful. If you've never sent a transaction on Bitcoin, I implore you to go and just try and experience it, because it also changes you in the fact that you feel like you realize that you just did that without a bank, without permission, begging for somebody for an account, and it got there in a second, and I didn't have to give my address, my email, my blood type, my DNA, excuse me. And you feel that. But another reason why it's unstoppable is because since they can't control it, I always say two things is why Bitcoin will win. One, we must print. It's a feature in the system, it's not a bug. Unfortunately, since 1971, they took us off the gold standard. Things went haywire after that. My mother bought her house for $27,000. Okay, I'm gonna say that again. My mother bought her house for $27,000. That same house would probably be around $400,000 right now. And it's in the hood. It's in the hood, right? $400,000, right? Is it that much better? Is it 20 times better now? It could have been remodeled, but is it 20 times better now? Is education 30 times better now than it was in the 60s? You could get a good education. Is healthcare 30 times better? Could be. Some say not. The science is better. But when these things should all be deflationary, right? Electronics, TVs should be cheaper. Everything should be cheaper as things improve. I remember plasma TVs used to be $20,000. A DVD player, the first ones were $2,000, then it was $200. And then before they went out of style, it was $20 at the odd lot sale. You could get a DVD player for $20. Now we don't even use them because we have Spotify and Netflix. The dematerialization of everything is what's happening, just like we dematerialize gold and money into Bitcoin. This is what's happening. You can't stop the march of progress, but they want to print and continue to print because they have no other recoil, no other response. They try to hold it off, raise the rates, lower the rates, print the money, hold up on printing the money. Oh, wait, we have to print the money because everything's over levered and there's no liquidity and we're going to go break the system. Oh, yeah, we have to print the money. And that's coming soon. And every time they print, it has to be an exponential print. If it was 2 last time, it has to be 4 this time. If it was 4 this time, it has to be 8 next time. If it's 8 this time, it has to be 16 trillion the next time. Like that. The numbers will get stupid, and that's one of the reasons why that guy Adam B. Livingston, he gives very comical takes on how people are living in the back of Walmart in the dumpsters. Very dystopian type of view of like where we're heading as a country, eating like bug protein and stuff like that. That's where we're heading. So they have to print. Number one, they have to print. They must print. If you disagree with that, tell me why. Give me another argument, because history shows that I'm right. They must print, especially since 1971. Just in COVID time, just since COVID time, they've printed
40%.
more money.
Yeah, 40% of
Yeah.
money supplies in the last 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we've lost 40%, 50% of our purchasing power. So it took like America 200 years to get to this point, and then it took 2 blips of a second to get to match it, what we've done in 200 years. And then my number 2 thing is we don't trust each other, okay? And for good reason. Look at the rampage that these European countries have went on the world. European countries, England, Spain, Portugal, France. Look at it over the past few centuries, the rampage, the pillaging of resources, and like you said, putting capitalism or the dollars over people's lives, and banks controlling both sides of wars and conflicts, and the people just getting murdered and churned up like fodder in a machine grinding, right? Rothschilds controlled both banks in World War II and World War I. Like both sides, they controlled the axis of evil, money, and they controlled United States and the UK, our money. So they're just sitting back, looking at both sides kill each other and getting richer, smoking cigars. Look at the tariffs that Trump is maniacally placing on every country, even our allies like Canada. Like, you're taxing the hell out of Canada. You're like, come on. Even Brazil with the coffee, they're pushing people away to cozy up with Xi Jinping in China. And I don't think Xi Jinping and Russia are enemies of the United States. They've just been shown to us to be enemies of the state. When in the movies, the bad guys and villains were always who? In the 80s, it was the Russians. And then in the 90s, it was the Arabs. And they tell us who the boogeyman is. And the hackers, North Korea and China. And China's the communists. And we have to spread freedom around the world. And they didn't tell us that freedom was 2,000-pound bombs that we drop on innocent people's heads, spreading out freedom and regime change by the CIA. They didn't tell us all of these things. And empire building, right? To maintain the hegemonic control and number one status of the reserve currency, US dollar, petrodollar. All of that is collapsing because America is acting like a tyrannical maniac whose brain is clouded at the end of empire. They're acting like maniacs at the end of empire, especially with Trump at the helm, operating on old software of how the world used to work in the 1970s, 80s, 90s. I think the US peaked in the late 90s, honestly. And I think ever since then, it's been a downward decline. And you feel that too, right?
Yeah.
But we don't trust each other, Doc. And look at BRICS. It's the same reason. The BRICS Association, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, their whole reason for existing is to fight the dollar. That's their whole entire reason for existing. Trump didn't even know who or what that was until recently. And this has been a thing for years. Okay, I'm going to say that again. The president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, did not know what BRICS was. Okay, until he realized just recently, he saw that Putin and Xi Jinping and Modi from India were all together and they're hugging. And I'm like, they're just laughing like, yeah, we got the dollar now. It's over. It's over now. Now they're setting up trade routes between themselves, how to skirt the US dollar and transactions for things like oil and pay directly in yuan, or now they're paying for large purchases of oil in Bitcoin and crypto, right? And they're trying to work out how will we make this efficient system? How will we make this like what Swift has, or which is not great, but what's in place now, but better for the rest of the world and not just one country? They're going to come to Bitcoin eventually. It's sitting right there. They're tasting it. They're mining it secretly. China, Russia, India, they're mining it. And you better believe they're positioning themselves with gold. India's purchasing of gold is through the roof, record highs. China, same. Russia, the same. So the world's theme is de-dollarization because they don't trust the leader anymore. Nobody trusts us anymore, and for good reason. We don't trust each other. And the BRICS will try to figure out a system, but the system's already there. It's called Bitcoin. It's right there. And Lightning is now stood up, and you don't have to use Lightning as a nation state. If you get your $50 billion payment and it took an hour, okay, but it's on the Bitcoin network, the zero layer of money now. It got there, it's secure, it's final. The transaction's final. People don't understand the benefit and the significance of finalization in this world. When you swipe your credit card, you think it's final because you have your Big Mac and you walked away. But no, that there's different layers. That probably settles a week from now. After it goes through the middlemen and the bureaucracy and everybody gets their little cut, it settles a week from now. But when Bitcoin transaction occurs, that's final. It's over. It's done.
Yeah.
And it's a bearer instrument. If you have it, it's yours. There's never any counterfeit. So all the law enforcement that is geared towards fighting counterfeit are wiped away and not needed. So we don't trust each other.
Yeah.
They're de-dollarizing right now. BRICS is in the middle of figuring out a system. The system's right there. It's Bitcoin. So all roads to Bitcoin. So number one, we must print. Number two, we don't trust each other. That's why Bitcoin will win.
That was an excellent breakdown. Thank you very much. And you were talking about how Bitcoin is a bearer instrument. It's a bearer asset. And that kind of leads into my next question about the importance of holding it on your own and appreciating it as a bearer asset. Because I think you and I actually both made this mistake by not appreciating that quality to it. And we had our Bitcoin on exchanges. Like I think you said you had yours on Voyager, and I had a good chunk of my stack on Voyager as well. And it ended up being a situation where we ended up learning valuable lessons, but it was extremely painful.
Hard lessons.
Extremely painful.
Extremely
I know
painful.
for me, it was probably one of the lowest periods of my life when I ended up losing Bitcoin because I thought I had
depressed.
it. Yeah, I thought I had it, and I bought it. And in the fiat world, if you buy something and you see it on your bank's website, you think you have it. But with your bank, you don't actually have it. But so I actually am appreciative of this lesson because I bought the Bitcoin. It was on an exchange. But when I lost it, that's when I actually realized and internalized that concept that I actually didn't own Bitcoin, even though I thought I bought it. And that's what Bitcoin teaches, that valuable lesson that you can actually own something. And in order to own it, you actually have to take it off exchanges and put it in self-custody. And it's a different concept for us because we've never really had to comprehend that. But when you do, it's a very powerful shift in your mind, knowing that you actually hold it. It's the first time you can actually own anything. But can you talk about what that experience was like for you, losing Bitcoin on Voyager, and what you think our viewers can learn from that so they don't have to learn a similar lesson on their own?
Yes. I remember yours was Voyager. Mine was BlockFi.
Okay.
And Celsius.
Yeah.
So, but similar things happen. And at that point, I should have known better, but I was caught up in gambling. I wanted to take a loan out and gamble it on altcoins. If anything, I could have just put it back on and bought some more Bitcoin. But seeking out leverage is a dastardly game because first you have to trust these custodians, and that's the first problem. Not your keys, not your crypto. That's the first problem. So we as Bitcoin advocates, as Bitcoin maxis, as Bitcoin educators, we say not your keys, not your Bitcoin. So what that means is part of the revolution and evolution that Bitcoin is here to do is the self-custody and cold storage, the actual ownership of your money, the sovereignty. And I didn't even know what that word meant until Bitcoin. Means you have complete and utter control over something. If you are a sovereign country, no other country has control over you. You have independence. And we don't realize how powerful a thing that is in these days, where these phones and all of this technology tracks and knows everything about you. Your privacy is completely obliterated, and the state can basically take anything it wants from you if it so determines that you are unfit, or they do not like, or they find you to be a terrorist for some reason, for holding a sign. You are a terrorist for holding a sign up. They don't like your politics. I can freeze your account. I can take away your house. I can take your house. You think you own that house? Tell me what you pay taxes on something that you own. And let me know what happens in America. All my Americans, let me know what happens to you if you stop paying the taxes on your home that you own and it's already paid off. What happens? They take it. So imagine what they'll do when it's a criminal or someone they deem to be a criminal. And then now with CBDCs, with the money that the digital bank, what is it? What's the CBDC, the digital banking coin? They're basically going to be able to shut you off whenever they want. If you have an account, okay, this money, your money, Caliph, doesn't work after 9 p.m. You're a wild boy. I don't want you to go out to the clubs. Or you've been drinking too much whiskey, Caliph. Your money doesn't work for alcohol purchases. Or You've been purchasing Macallan, Caliph, and that's not American. We need you to buy American whiskey or the state sanctioned, the state approved whiskey. You see where we're going with this? Oh, Caliph, you jaywalked. We have to freeze your account. Your social score is down. Caliph, we saw you made a post in opposition to the government on X. Got to freeze your account. They can't do that with Bitcoin. All right. So this actually flips the power dynamic on its head. So if we're flipping the power dynamic, that's very scary for the government. It's supposed to be power to the people, and Bitcoin is the only thing in the world that actually gives you that power back to the people, right? And it's a scary thing for them. So the thing is, they better get their heads around this because it's going to spread. The orange virus is spreading, and people like you and me, we're talking about it, and we're educating the masses, and people are starting to get it. And the people in Argentina, when their money is being deflated away, they're starting to get it. And Africa is now transacting. They don't have to turn their money into Chinese money and then to transact with people around the world or even within each other. In Africa, it was very hard to transact between the different currencies and things like that. They're starting to get it. So the government better wake up and realize that if I don't allow these people to experience this true real money, they're going to take this true real money and their wealth somewhere else where they're treated better. Because you can't stop me from just, all right, I won't spend my Bitcoin in your jurisdiction. I'll go with just like I did. I left the States because of these things like that. So flipping that power dynamic and realizing that Bitcoin is the only thing you can truly own. And nowadays, it's the only thing you can truly own. What else can you say that the government, no matter how much they try, cannot take this thing? They may be able to blacklist me or my address if they find that out, or a gun to my head, or torture me, or threaten me with legal persecution. But at the end of the day, if I so choose to die with my assets in my possession, no matter what happens to me, I can do that. Name me something else that you can do that with. There is none. Bitcoin.
Yeah, this is an incredibly important point that I think a lot of people are missing because what we're talking about now is Bitcoin versus CBDCs. And
Right.
in a lot of people's minds, they can't distinguish the difference. They see them both as digital currencies.
Yes.
And so they lump them together. And that's the biggest mistake you could possibly make right now is not understanding the difference between Bitcoin and a CBDC because they're actually polar opposites. And right now, based on what you're saying, if you get Bitcoin, then you're going to be able to escape what's going to happen if you don't. If you're stuck in CBDCs because you didn't buy any Bitcoin, then you're going to be able to be controlled. And whereas if you get Bitcoin and you're not stuck in a CBDC, it gives you freedom and you're not going to be controlled. So it's so important for people to understand what's happening because these CBDCs are going to be a thing very soon. And if you don't understand what's happening, then you're going to be stuck with only being able to use CBDCs and your entire life is going to be able to be controlled. Whereas if you understand what's happening and where things are going, you can get Bitcoin now. And no matter what they do with the CBDC, it doesn't matter because you've got Bitcoin and you can do what you want. You're not going to be controlled. And if things get bad in your country, then you could just go to a different country. And eventually the world is going to change where they're going to have to accept Bitcoin or they're going to fall apart. So I think that's a very important conversation to have. And
I agree.
yeah,
Yeah, the funny thing is that we see this so clearly, right? It wasn't immediate. And that's the thing that people need to know in your audience out there is that it's going to take time for you to understand it. Dr. Satoshi and myself, we didn't just get it. Like when the iPhone came out, it's fancy, it's flashy, you get it right away. It's wow, this thing is really cool, right? But Bitcoin is something that has to sit with you. You have to live with it. You have to ride with it to actually experience why. And one of the things that was my why, it made me get it is like even through all the turmoil and like ups and downs of the bear market and like losing Bitcoin and the NFTs, I bought NFTs and I bought meme coins and I've bought altcoins tons. But at the end of the day, it was always the Bitcoin that saved my butt. And it was always the Bitcoin that gave me security, that feeling like, I have Bitcoin. I've
Mm-hmm.
never felt a sense of security as I do when I'm stacking and have my Bitcoin. But you have to understand it, right? You don't
Mm-hmm.
get that feeling until you understand it. And part of understanding it is you got to live with it. You got to live with it for a while. And usually it takes a few years. Like they say 10,000
Mm-hmm.
hours of learning. I think it takes a few years to get that 10,000 hours in. And even still, just like proof of work runs on time, and they say it's the time blockchain, the time chain, I still think you need a full cycle of Bitcoin, holding it to understand it truly and get it. It's like that. It's like antibiotics. You got to take the whole course
Yeah.
or it's not going to work. You
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that medical term. I brought it
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
to
Yeah. No,
medicine for
that
you,
was great.
Doc.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It definitely takes some time. Although I have seen people get it just in the last
Yeah.
year, and then they go down the rabbit hole, and within a few months or a year, they seem to get it. But I agree. The more time you hold it, the more it becomes entrenched in who you are, and it becomes a part of your DNA.
No, you get it to the fact that like the same way I got it when
Yeah.
Andreas Antonopoulos videos
Right.
come, but Bitcoin is like an onion that just layer upon
Mm-hmm.
layer upon layer. I still don't know all the beauties and magics and mysteries of what Bitcoin has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
That's how this thing is. Doesn't Bitcoin continue to surprise you with the things
Oh
and
yeah.
like the insights
Yeah.
that as you like live with it and different things and you're like, oh man, it's making me think about
Mm-hmm.
how we interact with people and what that means. And with the deeper thing, what does it mean to
Mm-hmm.
have perfect this? Can we have a perfect money? Can we have a perfect or uncorrupted education system or uncorrupted government or uncorrupted charity systems, organizations? Can it be pure? Can it be devoid of human greed and error? Trustless?
Yeah.
How is trustless actually a good word when there is no trust? No, there is no need for trust. That's a difference.
Yeah, I love how Bitcoin just makes you think about all these deep concepts and makes you think
Mm,
about the way you view the world and the way you everything about yourself you question, and it makes you grow because that's how
mm,
you grow is by questioning things. And before
mm,
Bitcoin, I just accepted everything and didn't question everything, but Bitcoin forced me to start to question things, and that's the only way that you grow is by questioning things
yeah.
and being willing to break away from prior ways of thinking about things and
Mm.
building new neural networks and new ways of viewing the world. Such a
See,
beautiful thing.
you're not gonna get that at the first time. Even if
Yeah.
you're like, okay, this is good, this is better than the fiat. I get it. It's melting
Hmm.
ice cube, and Bitcoin saves your purchasing power. Okay,
Hmm.
great, you got that part. Now buy it and hold it, and keep holding it, and keep buying it, and live with it because you have to live with it. I think it's like a new element, man. Bitcoin, honestly, it's because it's like a truth that all these things crash up against it, but they all eventually just fall and dissolve against it. And Bitcoin just keeps marching forward, and truth is revealed from that. Whatever
Hmm.
that thing is, pops, and then the truth is revealed against Bitcoin. So that thing can be a million different things. But we have this thing that's elemental. It's tapped into the elements of the universe. The best way I could explain it
Hmm.
is that somehow Satoshi, through math, connected the ephemeral, the digital, with the actual physical laws of the universe. And guess what, buddy? You can't defeat that unless you're talking about the multiverse or something like that.
Yeah.
Thanos or something. Unless you got all the infinity stones. Okay? Don't turn me into Cat Williams over here. Shannon.
Yeah, Bitcoin
You know?
basically represents the fabric of reality. So we're creating reality based on the actual fabric of reality instead of all these illusions that don't have any basis in universal law and have no correlation with actual reality. So you're right.
Right.
That's what could be more strong than building a foundation from the actual fabric of reality. It's
Yeah.
such an incredible thing when once you see it.
It's the antithesis of the fiat, the modern
Yeah,
financial system, which is all fake.
yeah. So
And trust me, bro.
yeah. So you've had some incredible guests on your podcast, and you always offer so much incredible learning, and there's been so many good insights. But what was the reason why you started your podcast, and what's the legacy that you want to leave behind with your podcast?
A great question, Doc. I think that's the one of the crazy things about Bitcoin is it gets in you. It gets in you, right? Look at the Bitcoiners. We are a special group of people, and I don't think it's just a certain type of person, but once you get it as a Bitcoiner, we have this affinity towards each other. Like we know, oh, you can see, like you can see, oh, I can see too, right? But it infects you and you want to spread it, right? It's weird. It almost sounds like The Walking Dead or something, like it infects you and you got to spread the virus. But it's actually, man, it's a good thing. It's a good thing for the world. Michael Saylor was giving a talk and he was on one of these, I think CNBC or something like that. And they asked him about the numbers and the money. And then he said, you know what? He did the sigh. He was like, he did the seller sigh. And no one ever asked me if it's a good thing, if it's good. And I do believe it's a good thing. I think it's a good for humanity and the world. And that's where I am. I think it's a good for humanity. I think it's an evolutionary step. And I'm like so excited that we have a tool to take our freedom back. It's actually freedom technology. And as I have political views on a lot of things, you do, the people on the other side of our political spectrum, whatever yours may be, they have their own views and hopes and dreams, aspirations. And you might think there's injustices in the world: immigration, war, death, famine, right? Those are specific to you and your geographical location and your birth lottery, wherever you were born. But Bitcoin and money impacts the whole world. So I say Bitcoin is the greatest revolution that you can join right now. It's the most profound. It'll have the greatest global impact compared to anything that you will protest in the streets. So if everyone joined up and supported Bitcoin and fought for Bitcoin and understood that this is the best, biggest, loudest, most punk rock rebellion and revolution occurring right now. If you fix the money, we'd fix half of the problems in the world, and it'll be a great start. I'm talking the military industrial complex. I'm talking big pharma, right? Talking big pharma, talking big agriculture. I'm talking removing the money and the greed and the deception and the unclarity, not being transparent, the transparency problem in politics. Yeah, Bitcoin helps that. I won't say fix it because there's still the human aspect to a lot of these things, but it helps it. It helps it a lot. And all those things I just said, it helps it. And income inequality, people being paid in made up French notes in Angola or French-controlled former colonies in Africa. They're being paid in this made-up French money instead of being paid in some real hard money like Bitcoin. Imagine if everybody was paid in Bitcoin and there was no fiat arbitrage, and then everybody would automatically be paid a fair compensation or fair wage. There would be no taking advantage of workers in Serbia or Ukraine or somewhere, India or Philippines. Everyone would be earning a fair wage automatically if they were paid in Bitcoin, and nobody loses. That's the thing. No one loses. When you adopt Bitcoin, we all win. Everyone wins. There's no losers when you adopt. So how can you not be excited about that? How can you not be like, you want to tell everybody? So that's why I do it. It starts to shine in you. It's like a warm orange glow that, I don't know. And it just combines with my personality. I'm a gregarious type of, I'm a social kind of guy.
You've said before that it's all about sharing the good news. And I love
Yeah.
that. That's such a great way to put it because this really is the most important thing happening in the world right now. And it's the most important thing that you could be doing with your time. Once you see what it is, what could be
It's
more
the most
important?
impactful
Yeah, yeah,
globally. Like you have your
yeah,
own things that's
right,
important, your family, that's the most important
right.
thing to you, or should be. But
Hmm.
the most globally
Hmm.
impactful thing you can do right now is Bitcoin.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've been dropping so many pearls of wisdom today. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Is there anything you wanted to add before we close it out?
Get off zero. If you're on
Mhm.
zero, if you're listening to this, if you're undecided, get off zero. Buy Bitcoin, it'll make you look at it. Just the same way if you have a boyfriend or a wife or girlfriend and they have an orange car, you're going to start noticing more and more orange cars. You're going to start paying attention, right? That's just human nature. So if you have it and you own it, you'll start paying attention. And the more time you own it, you'll understand it because it takes time to understand, right? And if you need any advice or help, come to Satoshi, Dr. Satoshi here, or reach out to me on X at Real Hard Money. And I'm also on Nostr, Real Hard Money. If you went to primal.com/Real Hard Money, you can find me there as well. But I'm also on YouTube. So check me out at Real Hard Money Podcast and on YouTube, and subscribe. You can subscribe and follow my journey. And we'll be giving you more interesting people like Dr. Satoshi. He was actually my last video that I posted. So we give interesting takes and stories from real people like yourself about their journey into Bitcoin, because I think we start talking about Austrian economics and the technical side of Bitcoin, we lose people. But if we tell
Mhm.
the real story about how your purchasing power in groceries went up, or it used to be 400 Bitcoin to buy a house, now it's 4 Bitcoin to buy your house, and not that much time later, that's significant. You get closer to home ownership. You get closer to self-sovereignty, independence, not feeling despair when you can't buy groceries. That's a real thing. These are the real stories. This is the realest, hardest money we've ever had. So please and subscribe, follow my journey, and I'll see you there.
Yeah. Thanks again for coming on. We'll talk soon.
I will talk soon. Thank you so
All
much,
right.
Doc.
Yeah. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
I hope that you enjoyed this episode of The Signal. In a world drowning in noise, signal is everything. Most people are overwhelmed, distracted, and deceived, not because they lack intelligence, but because they've lost the ability to discern what truly matters. But signal cuts through the noise. And Bitcoin is pure signal. It doesn't promise, it doesn't lie, it doesn't bend to opinion or propaganda. It just is. And as the world descends into even more chaos, distraction, and distortion, Your ability to identify signal, to recognize what's real, true, and timeless will be one of your greatest assets. So stay sharp, stay sovereign, stay tuned, because here on the Signal, we don't follow trends, we follow truth. I'm Dr. Satoshi, and in a world of noise, we are the Signal.